So, Ali, let's take a look at some of the principles of this system. What philosophically is behind this system in terms of the process and why you like it?
Well, the ESX system as a whole has its core philosophy based on the idea that not all canals are created equal. I mean, it's a fairly egalitarian system. What it does, it basically tells you that up until now, manufacturers have proposed systems, protocols, and sequences of files to use that have been universal, right? What this system says is that there's no reason to put all canals into the same kind of a category. What we need to do first is we need to screen canals based on what we're dealing with and then apply the right protocol for that given canal.
Okay.
And in that way, it allows us to be efficient and use the least number of files needed for canals that don't require that much instrumentation and are more simpler ones, and that is called the ESX basic protocol. And then for canals that are more difficult and more advanced, it's called the ESX advanced protocol is what you would use. It requires, a couple more files and so on. And then you have also the ESX advanced squared protocol. That is, basically the stuff that I primarily see as the endodontist, that are the far more difficult cases. And so in a sense, what the ESX system does is it educates us and it tells us that, all systems cannot apply to all canals, and that we need to be, as the professional, to be in a position where we screen canals based on their needs and apply the right protocol for that specific canal. So in that sense, it also educates us to know that our experiences are not necessarily shared and that different practices have different composition of patients. If you're a prosthodontist or a restorative dentist out there who's only doing anteriors and premolar teeth, then it's a different composition of patients that you have, and for you a different set of protocols would apply. Mm-hmm. If you are a more advanced general dentist who's doing also some first molars and so on in their mix, then you have to make a screening between the basic and advanced cases. And if you're an endodontist who's doing primarily very difficult cases, then you would be talking about the advanced square kind of a protocol. So there's no one system that fits all. This is a way of screening canals properly, philosophically, based on your practice composition, and then apply the right protocol for that given patient. Because your first patient might be basic, the next patient would be advanced.
It's the most efficient model, actually, because you're not using instruments when you don't need to use them.
Yeah.
Only when you do need to use them.
Exactly.
And you're able to anticipate.
Yeah.
Rather than looking from behind after the case is done.
So what I like to basically, the way I like to describe is ESX allows you to use the least number of files for a given case, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't boast of being a 2-file system or a 4-file system, or certainly not a 1-file system, as
It is what it needs to be.
It is what it adapts to the clinical case that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So it's a sophisticated protocol that allows you to do what's best for that given patient and that given canal. And in that sense, it has that superiority in terms of sophistication of adaptability for a given patient.
That this instrument, and to a lesser degree almost, the endosequence system, are the only two that I know that actually
have this type of adaptation system. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, we talk about adaptation, but how do we know what case is basic, what case is advanced, right? Okay. It's a fairly simple protocol to find out what is a basic, what requires the basic ESX protocol, and what requires the advanced ESX protocol, and what requires the advanced squared protocol. Now, we won't talk about the advanced squared protocol because that would be, that's a whole course on its own to deal with difficult cases. This is, we want to just kind of share the overall, the instrumentation system with you on the basic cases and some of the advanced cases. So let's just talk about what constitutes a basic canal that the ESX would handle. And what it does is it's a canal that you can take a number 15 hand file and go down to the apex easily. That's a basic case.
Okay.
So it's actually a hand file that is the screening device. So you have to screen your cases using a hand file. If a 15 goes down to the apex easily, you're having a basic protocol. You apply the basic protocol. For most of the cases, that's actually only 2 files. There is an expediter file that you use and then a finishing file, and then you're all set to go.
Okay, it's
right?
easy enough.
That's
right.
easy enough. If you have a case, and by the way, we talk about cases as though, all cases are the same. It's not. A case is a tooth, right? As a patient with a tooth. But a tooth could have multiple canals, right? And one canal in a molar, the palatal canal or distal root of a molar, could be basic because a 15 goes down easy.
Right.
And the mesiobuccal root could be advanced, right? And what is an advanced case? An advanced case is one in which the number 15 hand file does not go down to the apex easily. So that's the differentiation factor. Basic cases, 15 goes down to the apex easy. Advanced cases, 15 does not go down to the apex easily. It's tight. It's getting hung up pretty high. Then you need to use a couple more files. At that point, then the ESX system conforms and adapts to having, 3, 4 files that are required to be used in order to get the job done.
Okay.
And then the advanced squared one cases are cases that a size 10 hand file has a hard time getting down to the apex. So we've got 2 files, number 10 and number 15 hand files. If a 15 goes down easy to the apex, basic case. 15 doesn't go down to the apex easy, advanced case. If 10 has a hard time getting down to the apex even, that's an advanced squared case.
Yeah.
And that requires a few more instruments. So we're talking about like 5 instruments or so, 5 or 6. We just have to understand that we can't have our cake and eat it too. If you're dealing with basic cases, you need less files. If you're dealing with advanced cases, you need more files. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So let's just take a look at a couple of examples of what constitutes a basic case clinically. Well, this premolar, for example, you have large lesion, you have a canal. If you remove the decay and access the canal, you'll get down to the apex with a size 15 file fairly easily. And you can see here with the ESX, 2 files later, the expediter, and then a size 35 finishing file, and we're done and finished, and the post space has been prepared. On an advanced case, you have a molar here, and you can see the 15 would not go down easily in this case. You have a little bit of calcifications there on the mesial, it's a little bit tougher. But using the advanced protocol, which we're going to discuss, you can get down an instrument and then shape and fill with the ESX instrumentation and obturation system fairly easily. And then you got your cases, such as the second molar, it's fairly calcified and curved. That even a size 10 will have a hard time getting down there. It requires a lot of hand instrumentation using sizes 8, 10, maybe even 6, 8, 10, and 15 stiff files, these control flex stiff files. And then once you get them to a specific size, then you can finish with the advanced square protocol of files. And we might briefly mention that as well. And that's basically it. So let's come back and talk about the concept of ESX and how this philosophy kind of comes together from not only an instrumentation part, but with the obturation part as well.
Sounds great.